Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're diving into a really central question in education. Just how much does a student's background affect, how well they do in school?
Yeah, it's a fundamental one. And we've got some, well, pretty compelling insights today. We're drawing from a huge piece of research, really. It's two major meta-analyses rolled into one.
Huge is right. Tell us about the scope.
Okay, so the first analysis pulled together findings from 326 separate studies that covered almost 1 million students, 949,699 kids, to be
Yeah.
exact, across 47 different countries and areas.
Oh, okay.
And then the second one looked at the really big international assessments,
Yeah.
PISA, TEMS,
Big man.
and PIROS. Yeah, exactly. That gave us another like 1,200 and 230 independent samples. And get this, over 5 million students from 105 countries.
5 million. So we're talking of a massive, truly global picture here.
Definitely very robust data.
So what's the headline finding? Let's get that out right away.
The core finding, pretty much globally, is that there's a moderate link between a student's socioeconomic status, that's things like family income, parent education, jobs, that sort of thing, and their academic achievement in both primary and secondary school.
Okay. Moderate. And you mentioned correlation coefficients.
Yeah, the raw values, they came in around 0.2
They're
to
done diet.
0.28. Right.
So for listeners, maybe those numbers sound a bit technical, but what does moderate really mean here?
I mean, it's noticeable, right? There's a definite connection. Higher socioeconomic status, on average, tends to go along with better academic results. But it's not, like, overwhelming.
It's not destiny, basically. Socioeconomic status is a factor, maybe an important one, but not the only thing determining success.
Precisely. It's significant. It shows up consistently across all this data, but it's not the whole story.
Okay. So our mission for this deep dive, then, for everyone listening, is to really unpack that relationship. What are the nuances? Has it changed over the years? And maybe most importantly, what does it mean if we want more, equitable education?
Exactly. Let's dig in.
All right. So point number one seems to be just how consistent this connection is. You said it keeps showing up.
It really does. Across hundreds of studies, millions of students, different countries, this moderate positive correlation between SES and achievement is, well, it's just there.
And that holds for younger kids in primary school and older ones in secondary, too.
Yep. Seems to apply across both levels. It just underlines that, generally speaking, kids from more advantaged backgrounds tend to do better in school. It's a widespread link.
Okay, now here's something I found really quite thought-provoking. You might think, maybe hope, that as societies develop, as we pour more resources into education, this gap would shrink, right?
That would be the logical assumption, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but the research suggests something else.
It does. And this is a key insight. The analysis looked specifically at studies published between 1990 and 2021, and it found that the relationship between SES and academic achievement has actually gotten stronger over time.
Stronger, not weaker.
Stronger, yeah. Let that sink in. Despite decades of, global focus on education, efforts towards equity, the link between where a student comes from and how well they do academically seems to be tightening, not loosening.
Wow, that's kind of surprising. Did the research suggest why that might be happening?
It touched on some possibilities, things like maybe increased competition for higher education, which puts more pressure on early academic success. And early success is often, easier to achieve with more resources, which links back to SES.
That makes sense in a way. Okay, so if the gap is widening, what about things we often think might help close it? Like a country just being richer overall. Does that weaken the connection?
You think so, right? More national wealth, maybe more resources distributed.
Yeah, or maybe more economic equality, like less gap between rich and poor in a country.
So the researchers looked at exactly that: GDP per capita, measures of economic equality at the national level. And interestingly,
Let me guess, it didn't make a difference.
pretty much, neither national wealth nor national economic equality significantly weakened that link between an individual student's SES and their academic performance.
So even in a richer country, or a more equal country in terms of income, that connection at the student level still holds strong.
It seems so. It suggests that maybe other parts of SES, beyond just income, perhaps differences in parental education levels or the types of jobs parents have, still play a really significant role, regardless of the broader national economic picture.
Okay, that's fascinating. What about just getting more kids into school and keeping them there longer? Higher enrollment, longer compulsory education.
Another logical thought, right?
Hmm.
More schooling equals more opportunity to level the field. But again, the data didn't really bear that out. higher net enrollment rates, longer periods of mandatory schooling.
Hmm.
At a national level, these things did not seem to significantly reduce those SES-based inequalities in academic outcomes.
Huh. So just opening the doors wider or keeping them open longer, that's not the magic bullet for equity.
It certainly challenges that straightforward idea. It seems the problem is, well, more complex than just access.
So the implication here, what the researchers are saying is, it's not just about getting kids into school.
Exactly. They really emphasize that the quality of the education being provided, and maybe the quality of the whole expansion effort, needs way more attention.
Quality over just quantity.
That seems to be the crucial missing piece if we're aiming for truly inclusive and equitable education. It's about what happens inside the schools, the kind of support students get.
Right. And this isn't just an issue that fades away as kids get older, is it? What did the research say about different grade levels?
Good point. They looked at that too. And whether they use longitudinal studies, following the same kids over time, or just compared different grade levels at one point in time.
What did they find?
The relationship between SES and achievement either stayed stable, or in some cases, it actually got stronger as students moved up through the grades.
So the influence of background doesn't really diminish with more schooling. It sticks around or even intensifies.
That's what the data suggests. It seems to be quite a persistent influence throughout a student's school journey.
Okay, let's shift gears slightly. I know the big international assessments also allowed for looking at potential gender differences in this relationship.
Yes, that was another layer they explored, specifically using the PISA, TIMSS, and PRLS data.
And what came out of that?
Well, first off, the average correlation was significant for both boys and girls. Around 0.28 for boys, 0.29 for girls.
Hmm.
So pretty similar on the surface.
Okay, so roughly the same impact.
That's what it looks like initially. But when they dug deeper, controlling for other factors in their analysis, they found the correlation was actually significantly stronger for girls.
Stronger for girls,
Yeah.
really. So socioeconomic status had a slightly more pronounced link to academic results for girls than for boys in these big international studies.
That's what the analysis indicated, yeah.
Huh. That's Well, that's really intriguing. Any thoughts from the research on why that might be? Different pressures, maybe? Resource access? Societal expectations?
The study notes the finding, but doesn't delve deeply into the why in this specific paper. It definitely raises questions, though, doesn't it? Something worth thinking more about.
For sure. Okay, so let's try and bring this together. The so what question. We have this consistent link, SES and achievement. It seems to be getting stronger over time, maybe surprisingly.
Right. And simply boosting national wealth or equality or school enrollment or duration of schooling. None of that, on its own, seems to automatically break that link at the individual student level.
Which brings us back to what you said earlier.
Exactly. The study authors really point toward the quality of education. If we want genuine equity, we need to look much more closely at what high-quality education means and how to deliver it effectively for all students, especially those from less advantaged backgrounds.
So for everyone listening, the main takeaway isn't just that this link exists, but that it's persistent, maybe even growing, and that the simple solutions, more access, longer schooling, haven't been enough to erase it.
Precisely. It pushes us to think beyond just participation numbers and focus on the substance, the quality, the experience of education itself.
It really does give you a lot to chew on, which leads to that final thought.
Mhm.
If just expanding opportunities hasn't really leveled the playing field in the way we might have hoped, what does work? What specific changes, maybe deep within the school systems themselves, or even looking more broadly at society, what could actually start to decouple a child's background from their academic potential? And yeah, what does quality education truly look like in practice when we're trying to tackle these deep-seated disparities?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It really is. Definitely some food for thought there. That's our deep dive for this week.